Well. Welcome to another wonderful day of the Crotchety Old Men podcast. Hey, I'm Gary Smith, the co-host, and with me today is all my compadres. Let's say that. George Gromley, PC. Y'all talk to me this morning. How's it going, fellas?
It's all good. It's all good, George. We're alive. We're talking. Hopefully in our right minds, and that's on a day to day basis. But other than that, it's a wonderful world out here.
Yeah, it's all good in the neighborhood. Just always anytime we get together and talk about different subjects and kind of share a little information as of what we're going to do today. But, hey, I'm just happy to be here.
Okay, well, since we're all here, let's get into it. What are we talking about today, Dr. Clemens?
Well, we're going to talk about the ill effects of Viagra, and I think that's something we should talk about since we're still swinging, and if you know what I mean. And we're at that we're at that age, so I think it will do us all good while we're still swinging to address that issue, because a lot of men are going toward Viagra and products of that like to try to keep going, and there's some healthier alternatives than that.
Well, before we get into that, can you kind of give us some history behind it? Because as I understand, this drug was actually created for something else, and then they stumbled on this, that it treats other things also. Can you kind of get
That's
into
true.
that?
That's true. The drug was stumbled across when they were doing some drugs for depression, and they found out that the Viagra would kick up the libido as a result of their playing around with different drugs. The problem with Viagra is that if you're just using Viagra, to put a little bit more lead in your pencil, and that's all you're doing, then you're really, drugs works best when they're working in conjunction with each other. And if you don't have that symbiotic relationship with drugs, um, then you're going to have to start looking at some ill effects. So they have a drug called tendinophil and sildenafil is what the active ingredient is, and what that's supposed to do. It's a venodilator, so it's going to open up your blood vessels so more blood can get in there. The problem with that is that it's the Viagra and the Cialis and the Levitra and whatever else. They're not addressing the root cause of why we men have issues when we get to our age, in our 70s and so on. And here are just some of those things. First of all, we men, as we get from 40 on up, our testosterone starts to deplete. Okay. So the Viagra is not really addressing the production of testosterone. The second thing is that while we've gotten up to the age that we are now, you have a lot of toxins in the actual blood vessels that are responsible for erection. So without taking the toxins out of the blood vessels that are responsible for the erection, you have a lot of problems having an erection in the first place.
Well, you know what, PC, wouldn't you say that some of that probably stems from diet, particularly here with American men. I don't know how it's compared with other men in other countries. However, in America, because of our diet, uh, things such as, which perhaps have some effect on achieving or reaching an erection, would be blood pressure, for one. The ingredients or the toxins that's in one's blood that stems from smoking, maybe too much alcohol, and we could go on, but in regards to the hemoglobin situation, but just dietary right there alone, I would just venture to say they probably have something to do with that.
Has a lot to do with it, Gary, and you hit the nail right on the head. Because let's take blood pressure for instance. Um, the blood pressure is when you have blood pressure, that means to say that the heart is having a problem bring enough blood from the heart to your feet and back to your heart again. There's a certain amount of pressure required to get from your heart to your feet. That's the systolic number. That's the number at the top. The number at the bottom, which is even more important, the diastolic number, that's the pressure it takes to get from your feet back up to your heart. So when you have high blood pressure, that means that the heart has to work that much harder to get that job done. So just think about that for a minute. If the blood has to divert and go into a different direction, say in the penis, then you got if there's not enough pressure, if you having high blood pressure just to get from the heart to the feet back to the heart again, so it's not going to push the penis. So that's the one issue with blood pressure. The second issue with blood pressure is the type of medication that they give you. So you can have an erectile dysfunction just simply because of the blood pressure, but you can also have erectile dysfunction because of the medication that it gives you. Because the blood pressure medication is taking out certain minerals that are key to vitamin absorption, like magnesium and manganese. Those minerals are key to be able for the body to absorb vitamin A, vitamin C, and vitamin D. Those are all critical vitamins. If you don't have those in your system, now you're vitamin deficient. If you're vitamin deficient, can't push that pencil. So that's the one thing. The other thing that you didn't mention, and I'm glad you brought this up, Gary, was diabetes. A lot of brothers are suffering from diabetes. That's all diet. We can get off of high blood pressure. We can get off of diabetes if we just deal with diet. If we talk to a nutritionist, they tell us what we need to eat, what we don't need to eat. A lot of men suffer from erectile dysfunction because of the medication they give you, the metformin. They came out with a new metformin because the old metformin they found out cures cancer. So they got us off the old metformin, put us on the new metformin, and now the new metformin is giving us cancer. Okay, and it's also limping our penises up. Sorry about that, but so and all it takes for diabetics is to stop eating white food, white rice, white bread, potatoes, that kind of thing. And if you can be diligent about doing that, you won't have diabetes. So diet is key to everything and all diseases and all good health.
Wow, that's interesting. Very informative, I might say. Very informative in that, we have to participate in our own rescue as
Absolutely.
men. Along with that, we're speaking about dieting, but certainly exercise, keeping your weight in proportion to your height and those type things. Now, I know we started out in this segment and we talked about the ill effects of the drug, and I think some of those can stem from, you hear guys, taking these pills and then they're drinking alcohol with them. I would imagine that those things right there could possibly lead to some very serious medical situations if one is not careful, wouldn't you say?
Well, primarily stroke and heart attack.
Mm.
The active ingredient in the Viagra and Viagra like products is sildenafil, and sildenafil, by it trying to increase the blood pressure, it increases the heart rate, and it increases the heart rate at such a level that it takes away blood that is really required somewhere else in the body. So here we go. So, young man asked me one day, and this is a true story. He came up to me, and I guess he's looking at my age and the gray hairs and my mustache. He said, "Pops, you got any Viagra to sell?" I said, "Oh no." I said, "I don't use Viagra. Don't need it." He said, "Well, you don't use Viagra?" "No, sir." I said, "And you're how old are you?" He said, 26. I said, "What on earth do you need Viagra for?" He said, "I'm trying to impress a woman." I said, "Well, the best way to impress a woman is to be your damn self. Okay, you don't, because you're gonna have to impress that woman at another time, and you're not gonna have the Viagra. Or what you gonna do?" So I said, "Do you know how the Viagra works?" He said, "No." He said, let me tell you how the Viagra works. When you take that Viagra, you got high blood pressure, whatever else you have, whatever. That Viagra is going to search for a blood supply that the heart has already decided that it needs to send somewhere else in another part of the body. It's going to take that blood supply that's already been designated to another part of the body, send it to your penis. Okay? So now, if the blood supply needed to go to the heart for oxygen and so forth and so on, it removes that extra blood supply, takes it to the penis. You get a hard on. In the meantime, you have a heart attack and die, and you can't close the casket because you got this stiffening. You dig what I'm saying? It cause a whole lot of grief to your family. Are you sure you want to do that? So that's how Viagra and those products work. They take extra blood supply that the body needs in another area and puts it in your penis. And so now you have a blood deficiency, you have an oxygen deficiency, and you're in trouble. You're in trouble. I know people who've had massive heart attacks and have died by having. I know one person. I'm not going to mention any names or connections, but they had a medical cabinet full of all the hardeners, and they had a massive heart attack. They had a massive heart attack. So you really need to be careful. You really need to consult your doctor. If you have a holistic doctor or practitioner, you need to consult with them because it makes a difference when you're thinking in terms of integrated medicine. Things have to work in conjunction with each other, and that's very important.
All good stuff, and I don't want our audience to think we're picking on Viagra, but there's other medications out there. I think one's called Cialis, but
Cialis and Levitra.
yeah. So this is one of the things I want to talk about because to me, this is the fun part of the show. Can you talk real quickly about some of the things that you can do? Like even this 20-something-year-old that you were talking to. What are some of the things that you can do to have the same effect? Or so that you can accomplish the same thing, but not taking these pills.
Okay, so here's what he could do. The first thing he could do is stop eating at McDonald's and Burger King and all of that, because that's going to clog. And what a lot of people do not realize about erectile dysfunction is that the vesicles that create the hardness in the first place, they're clogged. They're clogged with toxins. The toxins come from what we eat, the air we breathe, the water we drink, and so forth and so on. So you've got to stop eating at McDonald's and these other fast food places. Second thing of it is you need to exercise on a daily basis. That way you get your heart rate up, and your heart rate is producing more blood. If you produce more blood, you're producing more oxygen. The third thing is that you can look at herbs like saw palmetto berry, although you'd have to take you'd have to eat about 13 pounds of saw palmetto berry a day. So what do? They make extracts out of these things that make it so potent that you only have to take a pill a day or a spoonful a day or whatever the case might be. So what are the herbs that will produce an erection? You got horny goat weed, no pun intended. You have saw palmetto berry. You've got burberry, which helps to alleviate the toxins that are in the vesicles that create the hardness. And then you've got ginger. You've got turmeric. These are things that really help in terms of the inflammation, because if you have toxins in the vesicles, you also are going to have inflammation. So they have some herbal products on the market, and I think everybody has to do their research according to what they're dealing with to find out what is the best combination. And herbs, drugs, um, even people for that matter, we all work best in combinations. So when you find a combination that's conducive to your condition, which is purely personal. I can't say that there's a fix for everybody. It doesn't work that way. But there's some herbal uh, products on the market that will help you to alleviate that erection. The other thing about erection is there has to be a certain amount of testosterone, which is what leaves our bodies from the start of 40 years and above, and also the um, what's the other thing? The nitric oxide. So if you have products that will increase nitrous oxide, or either make the body increase its own nitrous oxide, that'll create the nitrous oxide will increase the testosterone in our bodies. So you want herbs that are going to promote the body to do its natural thing, as opposed to putting some things in your body that are only going to last a day, two, a week maybe, and it's gone, and you got to do the same thing over and over again. If you know what I'm trying to say.
Wow, good information, man. This is great information. Hopefully, there's especially you young guys out there listening, and the older guys too. I mean, it's not worth dying over. All right, and you want to make certain that we take care of our bodies, take care of our health, and so that we can live a long time and enjoy it. So, what else, Doc, that you can help us with?
Hey, they've got some herbs out here. There's and when you see these herbs, you see these herbs and these things on Facebook, right? And we talk about toxicity. Facebook is probably one of the most toxic things on on the planet, right? So how do you know what's real and what's not real? Okay, gotta do your research. Gotta read, because a lot of this information that we see on Facebook is AI in the first place, and they're trying to sell you something. I mean, think about the producers of of uh, of hardeners, if you will.
Mhm.
I mean, what what makes you, when you look at the medical industry and how much money that they make on the various products that they produce? They're not going to produce a product to keep you healthy.
That's right.
Not at all. So what do? They get a product out here, they get an advertiser to make it look really good and so forth and so on. And the next thing you know, you got a heart attack, or you cutting off something because you got diabetes, and your blood supply isn't working like it's supposed to. So my suggestion is to do your research. They've got some products, like I had mentioned, some of the herbs and some of the health beneficial supplements that you can take. And once again, supplements are exactly that. They're supplements. So you still have to adhere to a healthy diet. You still have to have a healthy amount of exercise. These supplements are just supplemental to that end. And so you've got some herbal products out there that come from the Himalayas, come from China. You've got some ashwagandha is a popular product that they use in a lot of these herbal supplements that help with erectile dysfunction. It helps your mood. It also helps your energy as well. And so you really have to do your research in that matter, because you got a lot of misleading stuff on Facebook and whatnot, and they're just trying to get your money. They don't care about you. They don't care about your hardness.
Good information, real good information, and I think there's another great podcast for our listeners to here again educate them as far, because we all go through things of this nature, like you say, when we get older. We always wonder about them. Nobody wants to talk about it, but here, on the Crotchety Old Men podcast, we're going to talk about these subjects. No matter how delicate they may seem. So if this helps, one person, two persons, I mean, we've done our job. We've passed on this information.
And
So with
George,
that.
and you
Uh-huh.
know what, George, that's a good point that you just made. Whether you realize it or not, we need to talk with each other a lot more about about it because it's a taboo kind of subject. But one thing I don't think a lot of men realize, this is the natural order of things. As we get older, we lose testosterone. As a result of losing the testosterone, we losing the nitric oxide. We're losing all of the things as we get older because we're in the fourth quarter. They're getting ready to blow the whistle on us. You know what I mean? and so and so we have to supplement our daily living so that we can live as long as we can and we can live a fruitful life for as long as we can, so I think the more we talk about it, there's no need for embarrassment because this is a natural order of things. Women go through the same thing on their end. When they get a certain age, they have issues that they need to address and so forth and so on. Now, unlike men, women talk about theirs. And as a result, they're able to find all kinds of solutions. We benefit from each other by sharing our experiences. So that's a very important thing that you just raised, George, and I'm glad you said it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's what we're here for, our audience. So, hopefully, like I said, we've shared. Somebody will pick up something and go to their local farm, vitamin store and pick up some things and get things on the right track. So, with that said, fellas, what we got to take them home? We got any kind of pearls today for our audience?
Sure, absolutely, George. We would be remiss as the crotchety old men if we didn't have something to say. So here we go. Dr. John Maxwell says, God chooses what we go through, but we choose how we go through it.
Oh, man. Absolutely.
Man, I love that. That's
Yeah,
driving it home right there.
Yeah, that's right on right there. Definitely.
So look here. If you didn't know, now
you know.
All right, take care. Peace.
All right, peace, brothers.